All right, folks, well, welcome back. This video actually has nothing to do with the rest of the series. I just wanted to give you some behind the scenes and background information, as well as my personality type and why I'm so passionate about this project. So if you're familiar, there is a company called Gallup. It's the same company that puts out all those surveys, and they did a lot of research on personality types, and they saw that there were more than 30 different strengths that people have. So you can actually go online, take a strengths finder test, and find out what your strengths are, and they will give you your top 5 strengths in order from 1 to 5. And the individual strengths that you have as your top 5 and their order will create a unique personality type that is just your own. And then in those different strengths and how they are, and their order will change kind of how they are with you and make your own unique personality. So my number 1 strength is context, which you are going to see heavily in this channel. This entire channel is about context. For me, I can't change something either in work or in my personal life, for that matter, without knowing how it came to be, without learning how it came to be. For me, learning about a new system, a new protocol, how something came to be, what the history and the context for something is critical for me to understand it. I will understand a movie better when I understand where it came from and what its influences were. I will understand a book better if I understand its influences. I'll understand a board game better if I understand where it came from. So I have this real strong contextual need to understand things, and I'm sure you'll see that in every single sentence I say as part of this video series. My number 2 strength, which you probably won't get much of, is positivity. I think everybody and everything is awesome. My number 3 strength is strategic. I'm very good at planning long-term things and coming up with strategic plans. My number 4 strength, which I do think you're going to see in this channel a bit, is going to be ideation. I have a tendency to see and connect dots where other people's don't. When I'm looking at raw data, numbers, when I'm looking at patterns, different books, and so forth, I have a tendency to make connections and see connections that other people haven't seen yet. And so until I mention it to them. And I have different ways of kind of phrasing things. You'll see this in a couple of different places. I'm sure you'll see it when I talk about the Cthulhu mythos, as I have a few different ways of sort of categorizing things there. I also have my own ways of sort of looking at, for example, fantasy and where it got its ethics from. And there are these kind of 4 sort of strong works that I see that have influenced every single modern fantasy work that's come since the last one was released in the early 70s. So you'll talk about these things and why I think there's these 4 pillars of fantasy and such in future series. So you'll see my ideation strength coming out. My final strength is connectedness. Now this actually comes from my personal faith. I was raised and I'm still a Christian. I take the Bible literally when it says that man was created in the image of God, as well as that the 2 strongest laws are to love God with everything you have and to love your neighbor as yourself. That's from Christ himself. And so I take those at their literal word and try to put them into practice as much as possible. And that means that I will try to, anything that happens to somebody else happens to me and vice versa, good stuff, bad stuff. And I will try to be polite with people, civil people, understand people, and where they're coming from. And so connectedness is my 5th strength, which you probably won't see much of in these videos. Some behind the scenes information. I'm shooting on a Canon M50. I had a shotgun mic for this, but it wasn't working at all. So I moved to this lapel mic from one of my tests. And I also have 2 large lights on either side of me, which work a lot better when I picked them up in my sort of preludes to posting my first video. And the little filtered light they have is much better than the natural light of this room that I was shooting in before. I do have a nice large tripod as well. So that's technical information. These are the first videos I have shot for YouTube or really much of anywhere else. So while I have tried to put a lot into them, I've done a lot of research on them because, again, context, and tried to come up with a big picture, again, strategic. But I've also tried to give you what I could with some strong quality content because I know that there's a lot of videos out there on YouTube and elsewhere online, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are doing a lot of great content. So I wanted to make sure that mine kind of stood out a little bit with you. So again, if you have, this is all new stuff, I'm sure that we're going to have some early sort of issues with getting things up and running with content. So if there's any suggestions you can make to how I am creating my videos, editing my videos, uploading my videos, cutting them, way I'm talking, noise, sound, anything like that. I think I've done a good job with it, with editing it myself, but you know how it is. Whenever you've written something yourself, you always are bad at editing it. So if there's any suggestions you have at all, please feel free to let me know. I'll be happy to take a look at those. You can put them in the comments to this video below, or you can just go ahead and put them in any other video that you see that I'm running. Again, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate that you take the time out to watch my video here today, as well as future videos, and maybe the past video I just published too. Have a good day.